Um, I remember Walking Dead. Is Invincible? Is that
Yeah,
another
that
comic
was
you
kind
did?
of a flash in the pan. It just came and went. Never really went anywhere. Not like Solid Blood. Solid Blood, crazy. Still that death in issue 15, and then 17 when you get fucking Sword Master and shit like that. It's fucking insane. And then you find out fucking Shauna got powers. That twist was wild to me. But
We had just discussed about how we didn't just want this podcast to be for people who do nothing but read comic books all day, and then we completely ignored
the
our
most obscure reference.
Some poor fucker is gonna be looking up this shit and being like, "Oh, okay, I don't know much about comics, but okay, I'll look it up."
So what we're referencing right now is a one shot from 2020 that Kirkman and Ryan Otley dropped. They only did one issue.
Who is that? Who are these people? Maybe they don't know. Like
Robert
you can't
Kirkman,
who are these
creator,
guys?
comic mogul now, chief operating officer of Image, and the brain behind Invincible and The Walking Dead, arguably two of the most successful independent comic books of the modern era.
Let alone comic to screen. You have heard of these. If you if you happen to be someone who doesn't read comic books all the fucking time, you've definitely heard of these. That's what we're trying to get at here. This man started both of these incredibly successful franchises, and we are going to talk about one, an actual non-ironic, lesser known.
Absolutely. And so Solid Blood was just a one shot. They only published what would be the 17th issue of this series. Kirkman and Otley, um, the pair also that did Invincible, right? They started working on it later. Ryan Otley took over the book after Cory Walker bailed. But the premise is that it's basically a comic from another dimension in which The Walking Dead and Invincible never took off or went anywhere, and this was just kind of an artifact of another world in the multiverse.
It's another. It's what they would have ended up drawing had The Walking Dead not
Exactly.
happened, which is like an incredibly fucking nerdy thing to be
It's
spending your time
beautiful because it's the 17th issue of a comic book of a story that has no beginning, has no end. I'm sure that they like this was pieced together from notes and ideas that they had and stuff that they were working through before, but it's this space epic sci-fi fantasy with hyper violent, some great oddly art, and it's hard to describe because there's so little context, but what there is really cool. I really recommend if people can hunt it down and check it out. It's really fun. It's printed to look like an old 90s Image comic, and that's kind of part of the thesis of what we're looking at with Kirkman today. His love of comics, the industry, the weird things that he's able to do, and the fun that he has in the medium, and being a creator.
So to be clear, the recommendation is non-ironic.
Yes, actually, it is pretty cool.
Okay,
It is pretty
okay.
cool. Like it's really fun because like Otley's just going crazy with it because it's just one issue. So he's just putting all this great stuff, and there's still the fun like Kirkman high concepts and like cool character relationships and dynamics that it feels like a lived-in comic that has been going on at least 17 issues, you know? And there's even back matter with made-up letters pages and like solicits for a comic called Kick Fighter that he's doing with Cory
So in his
Walker.
in his made up comic,
Yeah.
there's a reference to a different comic that he would also.
Yeah, Kick Fight. I'm sorry, Kick Fight. Great. It's just
When
fun.
you're this successful, like, spend your time imagining being less successful. Like, well, I mean, it was published in this alternate universe. There's no world where he's not doing well.
Yeah, I guess so. Welcome to Tales from the Gutters, a show where two completely normal comic fans talk about weird comics and the weirdos behind them. I'm Ethan. I read all things comics.
My name is Isaac, and I can't read.
I can only read comics.
Kentucky humor. Yeah, there we go. That's the right one. There's going to be some Kentucky humor today. It will be the only time I'm probably allowed to do.
Hell yeah.
We've covered not being able to read. We've covered illiteracy. We'll be talking about cousins later. Anyway, yes.
Today we're covering Battle Pope, which came out in 2000. It's the inaugural work of modern comic mogul Robert Kirkman. And while we are going to be making plenty of fun of this wacky superhero subversion and the man himself and his gigantic head, I do want to get a little bit of glazing out of the way. On a personal level, Kirkman's stuff really played a part in my love of comics as like a young fan. I feel like for every generation and every art form and industry, there's usually a few standout creators that really inspire a love of the medium. For a lot of fans, it could be something like a story that really resonates or exposure to an out there experiment that makes you rethink the bounds of what's possible. But a lot of the time, it's just seeing someone living the dream. And when I was younger, as a comic fan, I started to really dive into the creators behind the stories and the characters I loved, and the industry seemed like it was populated only by like legends, and the only way to break in was to be there at the inception of the industry and the medium. So when the Walking Dead TV show premiered, I was a horror obsessed 12-year-old comic geek, and it was one of the first non-superhero comic adaptations I was aware of. I dove into the comics through that. I found Invincible. And alongside all that, Kirkman's big ass head was on TV doing live letters page-esque post shows and interviews talking about his small town indie comic origin. He was just a guy who worked really hard and got lucky. He wasn't some geriatric with heart problems, probably brought on by years of pure 70s New York City coke, or an esoteric magician from across the pond. He was just some dude. And as a middle schooler and a high schooler picking up floppies of Kirkman's work, it meant a lot to think that you could just be a fan and maybe it'll get you somewhere someday. While there's plenty of other creators whose work inspired my love for comics today, Kirkman was the first to introduce me to the idea that most of the people that make something of themselves in comics are first and foremost fans. And looking at Battle Pope is really fun with the perspective of knowing where he is today, because he might be a little embarrassed of it now, but I really just see a guy who loves comics, and that's what got him to where he's at today.
I didn't know who the fuck this guy was.
That's why we're a good duo. It's perfect.
It's a good duo, man. Yeah. I mean, after all this, no, I mean, just agree with it all. I didn't have the same introduction to it. My introduction was just like fucking with The Walking Dead when I was growing up. That first season was so fucking cool. It's funny. It's funny because also the more time that you watch him in interviews, I also had the impulse to make fun of Alan Moore. Like, it becomes a little bit inexcusable to be that way if you can also be a good comic book writer and not be that way. Like, it kind of takes away from the validity. No, I mean, dude, he's so fucking chill in the interviews. The more stuff of his that I read, the more I like. We'll talk about it later. He has an ongoing series called Void Rivals. I picked that one up just completely out of the blue, and really, really liked it. So, yeah, when you're a comic consumer like me, you just find these connections that,
You want to go into his origin story a little bit?
Let's talk about his origin story. This will probably be more opinion than I'll ever have on anyone's origins. Everybody's valid. This man is extra valid. He's super valid. Tales from the Gutter is about something that's very weird, like an artifact that we find strange, compelling, that has an interesting person behind it. So we've covered some smaller people. We've covered someone pretty modern recently. Kirkman is just his own animal. Like, we have to do the episode a little differently because he has an insane amount of content. He's done so much. This all started. The reason I would call him more valid than any other writer, obviously. He's a busy beaver. He's a very busy beaver. He is from Kentucky, as am I. He's got his big Kentucky fingers all over comic books, television, video games. He publicizes a lot of stuff. He's got all the business finger and all of them. He is for dorks what Elon Musk is for incels, and until someone proves otherwise, he seems to be eerily regular. He seems to be a very normal guy. I've seen a lot of clips. He doesn't ever act rich. He's at his worst. You can tell me what you think about this. He can be a little above it all, and but what does so well for him is that if he's being above it all, he doesn't embellish. If there's something kind of that might be a little like some tension to him or another writer, or just something that's like some sort of business thing that happened in the past, he doesn't get into it. Also, he basically went straight into, we'll talk about this later, his favorite company in the world. He just ended up right at his dream job. So, not a lot of reason.
And he is pretty humble about it too. Humble. I would say, like, to your point, like, very self-deprecating too. But I think that's part of his charm. Yeah. Weirdly regular, like weirdly just a fucking guy, right? So he's from Kentucky, right? And he still lives there.
He was. I mean, how many people in the world can even say that? Bouncing between Los Angeles and Kentucky a couple times every year. So that's a hard one to pull off, man. So he's from Kentucky. He's also actually from Kentucky. This is a fun game you can play for anyone who is not from Kentucky or one of the border states. Someone says, "Hello, I'm actually from Kentucky." You can immediately ask them, what was it like to grow up in the suburbs outside of Louisville? Louisville, Kentucky accounts for about 14% of Kentucky's total population. Also holds roughly 90% of people who have ever been anywhere interesting or fun in their whole lives. Every single person.
Does that count? Do you count no. in that 90%? You're the 10%.
What did Drake say?
Hell yeah!
It's just me and him. Kirkman grew up in Leesburg, Kentucky. That's what he says. He went to school in Cynthiana, Kentucky. That's where he first met his future collaborator, Tony Moore. Cynthiana, Kentucky has a population today of about 6,500 people. Very small town. Compare this with Vice President J.D. Vance, who grew up half an hour away from Kings Island amusement park and the city of Cincinnati. This man was forced to visit his grandmother in Appalachian, Kentucky, on the weekends. That's enough of a connection for that guy to embellish those visits into an entire identity. He made a best-selling book and a Netflix film starring Amy Adams and Glenn Close. I've been using that joke for years, but I don't have. It's my final word on the matter.
Honestly, when we first met, that is one of the very first recurring bits I remember of our friendship is how much you hate Hillbilly Elegy, and by the process of the transitive property, Amy Adams and Glenn Close because of it.
And then I'm googling pictures of the fucking way they look in that movie, dude. It makes me very mad. So the odds of a comic book guy, a regular comic book dork, rising to that level of success that Kirkman has reached, multiply that by the odds of someone from a small town going up even a single rung on the economic ladder, let alone what he's achieved, that is an insane moonshot. Like, should not have happened in any universe. Robert Kirkman is entitled to being an angry, bitter outsider, more more capable and more deserving of doing that than anyone. He just seems like he's way too busy. He's making fun stuff. He's being a normal dad and husband, and he doesn't think too much about this stuff. Very, very strange creature to have found in the wild, but it's pretty endearing. I can't think of another successful person that I've rooted for in my entire life off the top of my head. Ethan, would you like to guess another small town comic writer? He's from the U.S. I'm from a very small town.
So many people are Canadian.
He's
It's
from
so
the US.
hard.
He did a racist.
Oh,
he did a racist related to our Frank Miller's from a very fucking.
Oh, Frank Miller?
He's from Montclair, Vermont. I don't even know how to say that. Population.
Oh wow.
Just shy of 8,000. Very, very small town. That's an angry man.
Whoa.
That's a very angry man.
He's a very angry man.
Yeah, just couldn't let this opportunity go by without. Yeah, I'm glazing too, dude. I'm coming from another angle, but like just as another Kentuckian, like, it's very hard not to be proud of this. And the guy he collaborated with, huge accolade.
I mean, I'm not from Kentucky, small town, but being a Stockton guy, I get the small town chip on your shoulder and like how dope it is to be able to root for somebody and see something. Yeah, you gotta being able to
get out, and now his wife owns like a bed and breakfast in like the old town. Very fucking cute. People ask her if it's zombie themed.
That's so
no,
cool.
He has his thing. This is mine. I was in love, dude. That's so sweet.
That's adorable. I love that. Yeah, so before we get into Kirkman's work and Battle Pope in general, I think he's a great case study for the industry, and I do want, for my little comic book history spiel today, I think it's really important to look at how the industry works and the birth of Image as a company. Because Kirkman, as a creator in the modern era, I feel like he's had a big hand in shaping what we know as like modern comics now, especially in the 2010s and the 2020s and like the future of comics. So first off, comic books. How do they work? How do they get made? What was that TV show? My grandpa used to watch it all the time, where it's just factory videos and it's somebody narrating. Yeah.
The invention of TikTok. Yeah.
How much do you know about like the actual like industry and like being a creator in the industry? Like what is your like conception of like how it works? How do you think the comic sausage gets made? Like what do you think?
I think just they got to work together. Like there's a bunch of guys and they do different parts of the comic book, and there's like a publishing house, and those guys distribute the comics, and also just because it's a big financial stake, also probably have some sort of, after Ted McKeever, I know they like to fuck with their creatives, man. I think there's just like the give and take of that relationship, and Robert Kirkman not that bothered by it, but he knows how to play the game, and it is just a balancing act.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you're pretty right on the money. And the thing with comics that is so weird, and where it's really easy to get lost in the weeds and how the industry works, because it is a small industry, so like a lot of people don't really understand it, and because it's some weird combination of like a movie studio and a book publishing house. So much IP is involved that you have companies like the big two, right? Marvel and DC. And the way that they operate nowadays, and for pretty much since Stan the Man and fucking Jack Kirby have been doing mad lines in a fucking New York penthouse, it's a work for hire model. So Marvel and DC, they own the rights to Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, all of the characters that are created and written about since the like 60s and 70s. Like every time a character is created, the company that publishes it owns the rights. So all of the creators underneath operate on a work for hire model. There are very few comic book artists, writers, colorists, letterers, anybody that are actual employees of Marvel and DC. They're all freelancers. It's all contract based. So artists and writers and everybody else get paid like a flat rate, or usually it's by page, or sometimes for writers it's to do a certain number of issues. And all of the rights to the story, the characters, anything that happens is forfeited to Marvel. So you working for Marvel and even getting something like an exclusive contract where you are kind of locked in there, like, hey, we're going to hire you to do a run on Spider-Man. It's kind of a monkey's paw situation because like you've made it, you're locked in, you're kind of guaranteed work, but then you're beholden to the corporate machine, right? You get used and abused as they see fit. If they want you to do Secret War 5 and you gotta cross over fucking your Venom story into it, the editorial mandates just keep you locked in. And then if they make a movie or something based off the storyline that you wrote, unless it's specifically in your contract, that is very hard to negotiate for, you're screwed. And the only way a lot of people make a living in comic books in the big two is by being good enough and popular enough that they can up their rate and negotiate for higher and higher salaries every time. But there's no insurance plan for the most part, unless you're like a singular, like one of the lucky few that's an actual employee at Marvel. I was lucky enough to meet Chris Bachalo, who's did the Death miniseries, did work on X-Men, and he's like one of the very few like actual Marvel employees, but that's very, very rare in this industry. Everybody else, it's like, oh, maybe we'll recontract you, maybe we'll hire you to do something else after this. It kind of depends on how your sales are. So
we're all the way back to shout out to Greg Weick.
Mm-hmm.
Ravedactyl all the
man,
way.
The myth, the legend, doing it all himself, man. And one of the biggest things with publishing, I mean, it's a little bit easier nowadays with the internet and things like that. And part of it is in credit to Kirkman's push for independent comics, but so much of the like distribution and actual printing is so obfuscated behind like how the industry works. Like, I mean, if you were to write a book before the internet, like, do you know? Are you gonna go to fucking Staples and print 1,000 pages?
Yeah.
And then like mail it to a bunch of people? Like these distribution networks are really important to these big companies.
I feel like people kind of have the same idea about like, you know, like the Seth Rogen show you're talking about.
Exactly.
It's the exact same kind of,
like the studio and stuff like that. Like people, like pop culture in general, so much of the industry stuff is so dependent on how distribution works and rights and the contracts that people sign. And we've brushed up against Image before in previous episodes with like the ways comics codes and concerns about creators' rights led to a demand for revolutionary action in the comic book industry.
Our last guy, he was all Image, right? Image, but that's
Yeah,
even more
yeah,
complicated
definitely.
because it's Image, but also he's got his own mini. He worked for like a smaller one under him, yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of how the Image Boys got started too. They did their own like Malibu thing, and then they pivoted it into like a full company. So the perfect storm of all of these like industry drama things comes to a head in the 90s. There's like an exodus of Marvel's golden children turned industry bad boys who established their own company, Image Comics, in 1992. So these guys, the founders, Eric Larson, Savage Dragon fame, Jim Lee, who had just been doing an iconic X-Men run, right? Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool, Todd McFarlane, writer artist who had just done Spider-Man. They bring in other guys too. Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, Wilce Portacio, Filipino. Shout out to the fucking Pinoys out there. And this new art-focused, for better or worse, organization put the power back in the hands of the creators. So no longer were they subject to an oppressive editorial office or legally binding contracts. They were free to slap as many chains, pouches, and anatomical anomalies on their characters as they wished. It was an era of extremity, right? Everything was extreme. And it was a time in which a boy who I imagine looked exactly like Bobby Hill walked into a comic book store and first laid eyes on the likes of Savage Dragon and Spawn. And I think this is a pivotal moment in Kirkman's career and in comics in general because his influence from early Image and those creators comes through in Battle Pope and his approach to the industry as a whole. The way we're looking at Battle Pope is through Kirkman as an oxymoron, his evolution from fanboy to fan man, his love of comics and his influences from Image, how he's finding his voice as a creator through Battle Pope, how he was able to kind of get his way to the top of Image, and all of like kind of like his sense of humor, writing style, the meeting of dumb fun shit and a big business brain that really you can see the inklings of in something like Battle Pope.
Talking about the five guys from Image very quickly, because you said, oh, they're like the renegade bad boys, and when I was looking things up, I kept seeing like that tagline, and it's funny that only in this world, because the pictures of those five men have like bad boys of the industry posted on
Yeah.
I looked through it after giving it a lot of thought. I think that Jim Lee fucks without knowing anything about their work and anything like that. Jim Lee looked like he's the one. I'd give it to him.
Oh yeah, Jim Lee fucks definitely.
Okay.
Jim Lee fucks. Shout out Jim Lee, yeah. Cool guy, Asian representation, dude.
Hell yeah,
what a dude.
We're kind of talking about Kirkman as a creative guy and also the business guy, and I think that Battle Pope, we chose it because it's interesting and like kind of over the top, like goofy, but after reading it, after we chose it, it shows you, when you get context, you realize that it's kind of a pitch comic. It kind of shows him doing both. It is a fun creative work, but it's also it's far below his usual level of writing. It's very schlocky. It's very on the nose. It's very immature. And he, at this point in time, didn't care. He wasn't trying to prove anything about his writing. He wrote it for a reason.
Just to get his name out there, right? So like Kirkman and Tony Moore, they're middle school, high school buddies. And the way Kirkman tells the story is he looks over one day while he's drawing Spider-Man or Batman, and he sees another dude that's also drawing superheroes, and he's just so much fucking better. A lot of writers in comic books, a lot of them start out as artists, right? They want to draw, but maybe their technical skills aren't good enough. Like even Grant Morrison will say the same thing. Brian Michael Bendis, right? And at some point, Kirkman is the guy that didn't make it out. Right? When he was 18, Tony Moore leaves, goes off to art school, and Kirkman is left behind, and he goes and works at his local comic shop. Kirkman's story is full of these moments where if this didn't happen, like, he wouldn't be where he is today. Everything lined up in a way that gave him the ability to become the guy he is now. So while he's at this comic shop,
comic interlude. I'm trying to figure
and
out.
was it in Lexington?
Yeah, it's in Lexington. Holy shit! Ah, that's
Did you
so
ever
funny.
go to comic interlude?
Wow, that's
funny.
crazy. No, I lived in Lexington for years. Bro, next time I'm home, for sure, I'll send you a picture, man. That's
Hell
crazy.
Yeah, that's so sick. But so while Kirkman's there, he really gets an insight into like how comics work, how things sell, dealing with Diamond, right, the main distributor who had a monopoly on the business for years and years and years. And Kirkman's works at this comic shop, and he's doing odd jobs, right? I think at one point he worked for like Kentucky Lighting or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it was pretty blue collar.
And out of this, he's just kind of like, man, I really want to make comics, right? This whole time he's just like, well, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this isn't the end game. And he links up with Tony Moore, and they put together an idea for a comic to get their names out there. And the basic premise is, what is the weirdest 2 words that you could put together to make somebody want to read the comic? And for them, it's Battle Pope. It's a superhero horror comedy.
Yeah.
Right.
Hangout, roommate. Like, it's got it all.
There's so much in there. They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And that's what we really saw in this book, is that these 2 dudes are really figuring out comics and like figuring out their voice. And Kirkman realizes that, he's pitching to Image. He's putting together pitches, and like he realizes the best way to get things out there is to kind of do it himself, right? And
as a step one, he's pivoting. Like, he doesn't want to be an independent guy like maybe forever. I think we talked about this before, the interview where he doesn't name names, but he says that he pictured there being like an extended Battle Pope universe, and like he would just do that forever. But then he saw a single, what would you call him? Single character creator or something like that. A guy who just was known for one thing. He doesn't name him in the interview, but he says that the guy looked just like goddamn fucking miserable, and he literally just everybody tells weird stories like that. You don't know how true it is, but yeah, I don't know who it was, but
yeah. Well, we'll get into it later, and like kind of like how he works himself into Image and stuff like that. But like, I think for them at this moment, Battle Pope is just the thing that they can do to make something, and maybe that has their name on it.
Yeah.
And what I see in a lot of this is just 2 best buds making something dumb and fun. Like, it reminds me of like being a kid and like making stupid like comics and shit like that with my buddies. It's like, it has a very Captain Underpants feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is like R-rated, like
R-rated
the spirit of something like that, right?
It's like, it's specifically to 21 or just early 20s guys putting this together.
Yeah, because Battle Pope comes out there. 22. Yeah. Battle Pope comes out.
It's an easy read. It looks pretty good most of the time. It's dumber than South Park. It is unapologetically just like a very dumb.
It's funny
book.
too, because like he does, like, it's so hard for Kirkman to, I feel like he has to mention it. I think he's proud of that time in his life, but he's embarrassed by Battle Pope a little bit, because it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I never thought I would get this famous, and like now people are talking about fucking Battle Pope, like
the self-depreciation.
Exactly. And so the premise of Battle Pope is that it's a post-apocalyptic story. God has condemned the earth and left everybody behind in this hellscape where demons have kind of taken over.
Judgment Day happened and 2 guys qualified is like the big
Yeah. And so everybody is living in this like demon run hellscape, and one of the people left behind is Pope Oswald, who was the Pope when the rapture happened, and he was like a hard drinking, lady loving, just kind
cigar
of a sack of shit
chomping,
Pope.
yeah.
Just a real asshole. And he's killed by a demon in a bar fight where he's making fun of his dick, and he makes it to heaven with Jesus, who in this story is a Hawaiian t-shirt with Daisy Duke cut off, booty short, flip-flop wearing, hippie dumbass.
He's a big child. He's just like a kid.
And God feels kind of bad about abandoning his people, and he gives Pope the powers and turns him into a superhero.
Super Pope.
To kind of, his first mission is to rescue Saint Michael, who had been captured by Lucifer, right?
Lucifer is trying to steal Saint Michael's halo, and if he fuses with the halo, he will have angelic demonic powers, and so it's up to Oswald to stop him. The lore that we just said is mostly done in the first 2 to 3 issues. That's also the end. There's 15 other comics after this, and they, as far as lore is concerned, you know everything you need to know. There's not a lot of the twist and turns coming.
Yeah, the premise is kind of just the setup, and so much of the story is just their like little kind of conventional superhero adventures, kind of fighting demons, going on little missions, and then this just kind of like slice of life buddy comedy shit.
The relationship between Jesus and Oswald.
And that's something I feel like I see a lot in Kirkman's stuff. Like there's high concept, super high, like really cool premise, but there's a lot of heart to the stories. Like the backbone of so much of his work are these really well developed personal relationships. And like, I mean, looking at something like Walking Dead, the real hook is not the zombies. The hook is this guy wakes up and finds out his wife is cheating on him with his best friend. Like that's the big hook. Invincible is not just about like a superhero. It's about a kid finding out that his father is not who he thought he was. And his big twists and things like that, I think you can see him kind of figuring it out. Like what he likes about comics and like serialized storytelling is that you can live in these worlds and like hang out with these people. One thing I also do want to do is I really got to give Tony Moore his flowers. I think he's a great artist. Like although their relationship sours later on, we'll cover it a little bit, but the absolute blast these two best buddies are having on this book comes through in the ink. Like Tony Moore's got like a cartoonish, expressive style that really fits Kirkman's writing and the humor. And when they collect this when they color it and collect it in 2008, 2009, Image puts it all in compendiums, and that's the version I'm reading. The colors look great, and Moore's art is really, really good, and it's awesome in the beginning of Walking Dead. I am very partial to his style a lot. I love the heavy line work, very comic booky, a little manga influence, I would say, in some of the faces. But his like the layouts and the visual comedy in the series is like surprisingly well done. Like for a first comic of just two fucking guys, it's honestly is impressive. It's because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, these guys are pretty talented. Like you can't, it's not like they just got lucky and they just like grinded. It's like, oh, these guys are actually pretty talented at what they do, and they have an understanding of the medium.
Very important thing to say about Tony Moore. One more Kentucky note. If you've looked up an image of him, the biggest fucking chops you've ever seen, man. Mutton chops that just about meet in the bottom. Wolverine wishes he had mutton chops like this, dude. Small
yeah.
town Kentucky
Hell
went
yeah.
out to play in the big leagues and kept the chops, dude. The chops stay on. That's hard.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, so like the big like concept of this, there's like it's a big like satire and parody kind of superhero like conventions, and then there's so much Jesus religious blasphemy that's very like what would you say, like it's like it's offensive to be
Yep.
offensive in a
Yes,
little
yes.
in a lot of ways.
It's
Very exploitative.
it's work.
Not just with the religious stuff, but like, sexual comedy too.
It's the two layers because he's a superhero pope piece of shit. So like it's undermining the like hero thing and at the same time undermining the pope thing. Like it's working at both sides. Every time he goes and fucks some random girl, it's like, oh, Superman can't do that, and also like, oh, the Pope can't do that, and that's kind of the basis of the humor. Leaving alone whether or not the Pope should be a superhero, like that kind of just clears up that issue.
Yeah, and I remember we were talking before, like you had mentioned, kind of like where this is kind of a light-hearted, fun send-up of like the superhero genre. Like there's parallels to something like Preacher, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
kind of like a deconstruction of like religious themes and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's just a straight IP like rip, honestly. And he's got his own thing with it, but what he's got is an absent an absent God who's like turned his back on the people. And Preacher, he's just missing. In Battle Pope, he's past judgment. You've got like Jesus. I don't know if that's just the show or the comic. There's Humperdale. You remember Humperdale?
Oh yeah.
We don't even need to get into that. But that was
in the comic too.
That was Preacher's Jesus. This Jesus isn't that bad, but he is like a dork. Honestly, did you watch the Preacher TV show?
He's fucking Shaggy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's a like even more.
He's literally just fucking Shaggy. Like,
so I think that Kirkman just isn't that. Kirkman is not like angry at religion. Yeah, he is just a Christian. He talks about like when he apologizes, like tongue in cheek in the future about making Battle Pope. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, my Jesus is silly, but the real Jesus is great. I hope I don't get in trouble." He just says it in that Kirkman way.
Like the lore, like Catholic lore shit is so fucking crazy.
It's
and
also
it's so out there, and I think it's so funny to like really elevate it. Like
it's
this.
made by two Protestants who don't know fucking anything about Catholicism, which is also pretty funny.
I feel like it's fairly accurate to Catholicism. Like the like Catholicism is basically Battle Pope. Honestly,
still scarier.
They got fucking relics and shit, man. They got like the superpowers in the bones of like saints and shit. Like,
I think
literally.
if Protestants is like comic books, I feel like Catholicism is like anime. Like it's just a little darker.
Yes. So throughout the series, maybe we'll like split it up into the three main arcs, right? So like I read this in the compendiums, and they're kind of broken up into like the three main arcs. With they also released little shorts, like little 1 or 2 pagers, little strips and stuff. While this was coming out, also, and they kind of collected this into the collection. So the first arc is Genesis, and we get the origin story of the world and Battle Pope going to save Saint Michael, who's like a very like Cable looking like general.
Cable and
dude,
yeah,
right.
Isn't that the other Patton? It's hard because I want to say Patton, and then his name is Oswald, so fucks me up.
And then we meet a lot of these characters. Like Lucifer is just the fucking like just kind of a twink demon-y douchebag. And like he's very like his like depiction of Lucifer, like he's colored as like just kind of like a purplish blue, like just regular conventional demon. But I think really there's a lot of fun like with Tony Moore's art. The world feels very like developed, and it's like there's a lot of like fun little details. One of my favorite gags is like when fucking Pope Oswald goes into like Hellcorp is their base, right? They're like the demons have established a like company that basically runs the new world, and he goes into their main base, and it's just like very conventional ideas of hell, but just like these nasty Hellraiser Cenobite looking demons, and but then they've got like fucking Teletubbies on the TV, which is is really funny, and fucking Lucifer's taking a bubble bath, playing with his duckies and stuff like that, and then you got these just like bodacious pinup girl demons like in the corner watching them.
Very mature.
And yeah, it's really fun.
Did you think? So I just getting it out there now so everyone knows. I didn't read Invincible. Did you think that Invincible had like pretty good sight gags? I feel like he talks about how he's not funny, but I feel like any time I've seen him being funny, it's like it is like background images, like expressions are pretty funny, but like when he tries to write funny characters, it falls apart.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even listening to him in interviews, he has a very kind of dry sense of humor, I guess, like personally. But I think what it is, and I think I see it so much in this, especially like looking at his newer stuff, he just has, because he does have an artist background, and he did do a bunch of lettering. He lettered this comic himself. He did a lot of the layouts here. He just has a great understanding of comic book language, and you see it working. And I feel like that's part of like the quality of this, and like, I mean, it holds up in a way to be read, you know, because these two guys have like a great idea. And I think a lot of the humor is able to come through because Kirkman realizes how you read comic books, like how to use time and space in paneling, where to like give little punchlines and things like that.
I looked back at Invincible a couple days ago, random issue. It's the one where like Mark is like sleeping in because he's had like a big fight or something, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's already some of that in Battle Pope. Like he can see the movie of your mind, and so if he knows where your brain is going, he can make a joke with your expectations. Like where there's 6 panels of him just staying in bed, like you kind of have to have an understanding of like, you know, where your head's gonna go when you read this. And I like, for his first thing, there's a lot of little, he uses it for humor in this one more than anything else, but that's pretty forward thinking.
Mm-hmm. And I think he has like an understanding of like working with an artist and like what it takes to draw these pages and these panels, and like he gives them room to breathe so that you can get these big fun crazy splash pages where like Tony Moore is drawing these like Deathlock looking ass demons with like half robot parts and like this like post-apocalyptic world behind them. You got there's like the Bane looking guy with a gimp mask
with a baby face under
it, machine gun for him. Yeah, like it's so like there's so much fun stuff in this. And like I think the main characters that really, outside of Pope, Jesus, you have Lucifer, later Mephistopheles, who comes out, Saint Michael, God, and then some of on Team Hell, you've got Bellum, who's who's kind of, I guess, Pope's arch nemesis, his like number one hater. Because like because he insults Bellum's dick, and Bellum's the one that rips fucking Battle Pope in half at the very beginning. And then he comes back later on throughout the series.
Just chopped up more Brenda. And more every time. There's a little less to go around.
They just keep rebuilding him. They just keep at one point, right, he's just like the top half of his body. And then just like in like a Professor X wheelchair thing, and then they have to like give him legs. And then you have Brenda, who is
fine as hell. You just gotta really say
understand.
It. Sorry.
Oh god. Yeah, she's dressed like a fucking like a biker.
She looks like all the Lady Death comics that you'd probably be an idiot to actually read.
So the first arc Battle Pope goes and saves Saint Michael, right? And he is kind of given the task to protect the people of Earth now.
Yeah.
That
the first thing he does once this arc is over is there's a kitten stuck in a tree and he just kicks the tree down. It's very like all you need to know about him.
Yeah. And it's a lot of like very like conventional superhero kind of like gags and like send ups throughout. The second arc is a lot more kind of slice of life stuff. Brenda the demon kind of links up with Bellum, and she gathers a group of demons to take over Hellcorp after Mephistopheles has come. And
you get like some corporate comedy stuff.
Yeah. Like Mephistopheles, I think there's a funny dynamic where Mephistopheles is pissed at Lucifer for kind of taking them all down with him. Like there's a flashback of like Lucifer leaving hell, and then all the other like fallen angels are like, bro, like we're not with you, like why did you make us do this, dude? And like God's no, like, you know, fuck all of you guys. Like, and so like Mephistopheles has a beef with Lucifer, and like throughout like you just get these like funny, like usually at the end of an issue of just like Mephistopheles just torturing Lucifer over and over and over again, like just doing like random fucked up shit to him. And then we also introduced this like sexual tension between Battle Pope and Brenda that like comes to a head at the end of an arc where they're like where they're fighting each other, and then they just start making out, right?
Yeah. He's not that impressed. He's just trying to fuck her for 2 whole. Like the main character of the comic is just trying to find a demon, so he can fuck her for 2 entire issues.
Literally I think the biggest plot thread throughout this is the Pope's fuckboy tendencies, and we'll break it down a little bit more later how it all kind of comes back around in the Christmas issue later on.
He's got to learn his lesson.
And there's a bunch of fun little like Pope and Jesus roommate stuff, and the last arc is Pope and the crew move into like a basilica or some big like church, right? With he brings all the people that lived in his apartment building after it gets destroyed. They all move in. There's a bunch of roommate hijinks. Pope and Brenda finally hook up, like you said, and then it's very underwhelming for the Pope. And Brenda has a breakdown because he's just like,
she's not
all right. Like, yeah, you're not that good. So she is like, she has a freak out.
Ethan, earlier you were like, oh my god, this whole comic, like as a Catholic, it's like very like, what do you say? Like, what's the word? When it's bad for religion? Sacrilegious. You were like, oh my god, it's so sacrilegious. Blasphemous. I was like, come on. I was like, it's not really like that bad. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. I just remembered the entire like last arc is like him fucking the hell out of the Virgin Mary. Wait. Sorry. It's not the Virgin Mary. It can't be the Virgin. Is it the Virgin? It is the Virgin Mary, right? Okay. I got it fucked up because Jesus is God, and I was like, oh wait, he's fucking his mom. The Trinity is still, it's a complicated theological concept.
So like I guess it's a good time to like talk about like there's like just so much of this is very like you were saying, it's like South Park but worse. Like there are some very kind of irredeemable aspects of the humor. The hyperviolence and stuff is cool, but like the very like misogynistic sexual comedy, like all the women are bimbos and like nymphomaniacs is
they
like
him.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to read. Like I get like because it's and also like the Pope's not supposed to be a good guy, and it's clear that he's a piece of shit. But it's also like it's very consistent throughout. Like there's so much of the gags and stuff like that are based
He's
on
got the dark triad going for him. That's what makes him irresistible for women. And the comic can't stay away from it. Also, I don't know if he's caught enough heat for this. I'd love listeners, please let us know if the Funkotron logo is okay or not. Knowing that it's two white guys. It's just a robot with an afro.
Yeah, their logo for their like self-published like imprint. Yeah. Yeah, we get to the cultural appropriation. We don't even get. There's a whole fucking issue or like a few pages where he dreams about him. It's like anime. It's a manga send up.
Oh my god!
And he wakes up after having just slept with a Japanese girl, and he's like, "Man, remind me not to eat sushi before bed." And it's like, "Oh, bro, like."
Okay, here's the thing. I just thought that was a dumb joke about sushi. I didn't even notice there was an Asian woman in his bed. I thought it was stupid to begin with. Holy fucking shit. That one almost comes around and starts to be funny again. That one, that's
yeah, that's the thing.
Honestly,
so
one of his better jokes.
It's so it's so over the top. Well, I so many times do this. I just gotta keep reminding they're 20 years old. They're 20 years old. They're 20 years old.
Yeah,
and just dudes like being dumb, like, so, and it's just like, okay, like,
honestly, this is why we got to stop canceling people. Think about it. Yeah, you gotta let them could have ended up making an amazing comic book.
Oh no. You gotta. Sometimes I feel like with these guys, it because it is just their first thing. You can give him some slack because he does grow.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. Everything else.
The next thing he does.
I mean, there's some stuff in
Tech
Capes
Jacket?
that's a little. Yeah. Oh yeah, Tech Jacket. There's some stuff in Capes.
The Tech Jacket, the very first issue, you have all the stuff exploding in space. It's like the first thing he does after this. And then it's like a guy going to high school and talking to his parents. There's like 9 pages of just like interpersonal relationship stuff. Like his very next opportunity, he like seemed like he already knew how to do it. He just didn't think he was going to be that kind of writer.
Yeah. And I feel like with this too, because it's kind of like, we're trying to get noticed, we're trying to be as offensive as possible, and like the moment he's able to, he's like, oh, that's not me. I was doing all that stuff so that you could see me. It's like fucking like Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna do Sausage Party, and then you can make one of the best TV shows like of the year, like that's super personal and like also
I don't know how much we'll talk about it later, but also he cops to the, I was lying so I could get my foot in the door. Like, it's his favorite move. You can't really get mad at him for it because he ends up making something better because of that move. But it's his first card to play from the way he tells stories.
Yeah. And it's also like this like the time, like this early 2000s era.
Dude, I didn't even think about that.
I remember being a kid and just like so much. What was that fucking? Because later on, Battle Pope gets adapted into like this like mini series animation on Spike TV, and it just it's just that era of that like stupid like dumb jock humor like era of pop culture. You know what I mean? Like, there was that one fucking show where it was just like, what's it called, like Mansplained or something like that? Like, something like you know what I mean? Like, stupid shit like that. And like, I give him a pass. I'm giving him a pass for this.
But now things have swung too far. Now we've gone too far in the other direction. All right, that's your third Kentucky for the day. Guess people take advantage.
I do want to shout out some of his like influences from like the early Marvel stuff, or early Image stuff, like especially with like Eric Larson and Savage Dragon, because Savage Dragon goes into this territory like with the sex comedy stuff like later than this, and like there's a great little cameo with Savage Dragon as a hot dog vendor, and that's born from like one of Kirkman's little just being an annoying fanboy and like
Who's the
being
guy? Who's the guy?
Eric Larson.
Do you think that Battle Pope had more or less to do with his success than just him begging Eric Larson for an opportunity? It seems like 50-50.
Yeah, honestly, pretty much. Well, but it's like, hey, man, like, he met his hero and he was down to be his homie. Like, that's, like, we'll get into the story a little bit more but later. But yeah, like, yeah, in general, I feel like it is very cringe, but I mean, looking at it as a case study of the era and this guy's career, I think you could give it a pass because there's a lot of like fun stuff in here and the art's great. And yeah, like, so one issue I do want to break down is the Christmas issue, because I think this
the Christmas special
so much. I think this is issue 11 or 12. There's a couple more after this, but this one is really fun.
11. 11.
Yeah, it's Christmas Day, and everybody forgot the reason for the season, right? Jesus is so butthurt that nobody remembers that it's his birthday. And then Momma Mary comes down for her best baby boy's birthday, and she is a stone cold baddie. Like, it's ridiculous. She's got a weird, like, very 90s image nun outfit that's also skin tight.
If you thought that the clothes were tight in fucking Civilian Justice, you have not seen anything yet. You have not seen the Virgin Mary.
The fucking proportions. The fucking proportions are great. Like, I don't even want to say
she's built like an hourglass if the hourglass was just a pyramid stacked upside down on top of another pyramid.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's so gross, but also so funny, too, because, like, the whole idea of just, like, the Virgin Mary just being, like, an absolute bombshell baddie, like, in a very Image Comics 90s way, is like, just, I don't know, from a comic book perspective, I think it's funny. Like,
yo, dude, she is in fishnets. I forgot. Why even? That's crazy. Her belt has the fucking, if I was Catholic, I would know it, whatever the hell the heart is with the fucking, like,
oh, the rosary.
She's got a rosary belt. Jesus immediately just buries himself in her breast.
So funny. And yeah,
Santa,
so,
we forgot to mention Santa.
Santa's not living his best life after the rapture. Like, there is
not
a really
Santa went to heaven
funny gag where Santa's talking about how, like, unhappy he is with his life, and you see a panel of him and Mrs. Claus fucking, and it is probably the grossest body horror part of this comic. Like, it is nasty, and it's
no. Did you notice what's going on for the first couple panels of the Christmas issue? Once you get to Christmas story,
so
it's just
there's a fun like the panel of Santa in a bar. Is that what you're referring to?
No. It's the visual callback from the first one, right after he's in the bar.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just doing panel for panel, like the first comic that happened to the Pope, but it's now like, I christened thee Santa Claus, and to show us that he was a bad Pope, he was having sex and this girl was riding. Now we have the same scene with Santa, except Santa has his eyes closed because Mrs. Claus.
And the very first panel is the Santa in a bar with the same layout as the first issue where the Pope is in a bar, right before he gets into it with Bellum. And in the back, there's a bunch of like fun little, like, you see Science Dog back there, and you see who comes out.
Is that
Invincible
robot Freddie Mercury?
No, that. Well, yeah, I think that robot's Freddie Mercury. That might be from something. But you also the robot in the back with the orange head is Blackheart Billy from it's a Remender comic, Rick Remender, his first like early work, and then I'm pretty sure this purple haired guy is fucking Manchester Black from The Authority, the Grant Morrison, or no, from The Elite, the Grant Morrison, like I think creation. And
I feel like I kind of want to be Blackheart Billy. I feel like I kind of want to change my own personality to be Blackheart Billy right now.
It's funny, in the Pope's origin story, he had trained with Bruce Lee, and in Santa Claus's origin story, Chuck Norris comes out and one of his elves like beats the shit out of him.
That's so funny.
But yeah, like the main kind of like breakdown of this issue is Pope is doing some random demon fighting and also trying to get at Momma Mary, and then
so he
Santa
takes her to a restaurant.
Yeah, well, this is after they fuck. This is after.
Oh, that's right.
And
dude,
so,
that guy's hat just says Papa John's. How does he just have a Papa John's hat?
I don't think anybody cared in this guy.
That's
like,
true.
I don't think nobody was reading Battle Pokemon.
Yeah, that is crazy. It just says the Salvation Army. They don't have
funny.
lawyers.
Throughout this, like, Santa Claus is just pissed off, disillusioned. He's like sleeping in boxes and stuff like that. And the Pope finally hooks up with Momma Mary, and there's a funny scene where she tells him like, it was like kind of just alright, and which parallels what happened between him and Brenda, and now Pope's on the other side of it. So this is kind of like
he takes it as well.
Exactly, and he is really pissed off about it. And that's probably the biggest like character arc of Pope in this, is like his relationship to his like sexual prowess or whatever the fuck. Like it's really funny, just as like a character thing. And then meanwhile, Jesus gets into it with fucking Santa Claus.
They have this on site as soon as Jesus sees Santa. He said, "You stole my birthday." Jesus' whole thing is that he's a chill guy. This is out of character for him.
And the very last page is they finally throw a birthday party for Jesus, just Pope and all his like roommates in the basilica or whatever, or wherever they're at, and it's really cute.
It's very wholesome.
And then
yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean,
there's
good
a
for
little
commitment.
Epilogue of like Brenda just being a mess, ready
Brenda's
to sleep
still
with
a
whoever. Yeah, and then
wait, he says hello. Sorry, go ahead.
And then Mephistopheles just torturing Lucifer.
That's good. Could have ended here. Also, lest this get biased here, the Pope, the Pope has a running gag that he'll fuck anybody, including this like 7-year-old woman who owns the building. So after he's rejected by Mother Mary, he calls over the 78-year-old woman on the phone because he needs to practice.
God.
So fucking gross, dude. That's so gross. That's kind of like there's a little bit more, but it's a lot of the same hijinks, TBH. Not the climax or whatever is that the Pope talks God into finally proposing to Momma Mary because the Pope was in a fist fight with God because he fucked Momma Mary. And so there's a big wedding.
Well, now you gotta make an honest woman out of her.
You gotta make an honest woman out of her. That's it's very Shakespearean. It's gotta end with a wedding. Some of the final panels is like Momma Mary at her. I don't even know if I should be calling her there. That we don't talk about her a lot. What I don't know what else to call her. But yeah, she's like, she just got married to God, and she's like, "Hey, Pope, want to fuck?" And the Pope like looks left, looks right, starts swaying, and he's like, "Yes," and she's like, "That was a joke. You're so fucking gross." That's like the end of the comic.
Like that's the thing. It's
Also,
like it is funny. Like I think like for all like the cringe like gross parts, like I think this is a
yeah,
pretty funny. Like it is pretty funny. Like the premise itself, and I think it's well executed. Like for all the drawbacks of like the misogyny and
yeah.
just like gross of the era shit, I think it works pretty well. Like as a thing, would I recommend this? I don't know. Like I don't know. Like if you're interested
If
in
I if I thought this was your taste, dude, I wouldn't even really be talking about comic books with you. Not you specifically, but anyone, you know.
but I think it is super interesting. Like I just think it's a really like this weird time capsule of this guy, and that's what's cool. Like you see it in like movies and like TV, and but especially in comics where it's independently published, where it's just one or two guys, like they're just doing this like all on their own, and just seeing the like it's just like a fucking they're frozen in amber now, like this idea, this angle that they had of how to like get in the door and like how to
Yeah.
like really fucking try and figure it out, and like you see them working it out through this, and like you see Kirkman learning how to pitch stuff, because one thing I want to point out for a lot of comic creators, independent creators, especially now when you're pitching to Image on their website, the writer is the main guy who's kind of the point man for the whole thing. It's not a lot of times that the artist comes in and they'll hire a writer and the team. A lot of the times it's the writer that will pitch the idea and put together the team. They're kind of responsible for dividing the proceeds and like figuring it out, and it comes together later on. We'll see, but it's definitely worth mentioning how much of this like Kirkman, he established his own like publication Funkotron thing, right? His own mini company to be able to publish this comic. He figured out how to get distribution. He figured out how to get it printed, you know, and I think it's admirable. Like, and not only that, but like they were able to get through 14 issues of a thing. Like these two guys, like it wasn't just a one shot fucking thing. Like they were able to get through it and like figure shit out, and all
Also,
the while
he does say in a lot of interviews that he had just like completely maxed out all his credit cards to keep publication going, and that things hadn't turned around, then he would have fucking killed himself.
Yeah.
In so many words.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like all the while he's grinding still. Like he didn't just do this, put it out there, and be like, "Hey, maybe somebody will give me a job someday." He like all the while he's grinding it out, contacting Image, building relationships, doing a bunch of other stuff to like get his foot in the door in the industry. Is there anything else you want to say on Battle Pope in general, like as a thing, before we move on to kind of like Kirkman's career afterwards and things like that?
You said it already, and I honestly I hadn't really thought about it until we talked about it today. But yeah, I didn't super like it the first time I read it. I mean, I don't super like it now, but yeah, like after spending time with it, I think the most interesting thing for me is he goes on. Same thing you were talking about Walking Dead. I was thinking the same thing. It's a story where the sci-fi zombie element or supernatural whatever is the backdrop to a human relationship focused story with really great leave off points and pick up points and very well structured and very human centric. Outcast is another one that I've read by him. That's like a possession type story, but basically just about people up until the end. Invincible, I think, does get pretty, like, not exactly lore, but especially for the first half, as I understand it. Like, it is human relationships in the backdrop of all that. Anyway, that's his strong suit. That's what makes him such a great writer. And you can see him doing it here. I hadn't realized that until we started talking about it. But like I said before, all the lore, first comic. Like, he gets all of that kind of lore heavy stuff out of the way, and then he just writes about, like, people. Yeah. It's not as effective here because it's very juvenile. Yeah, just cool. Very cool that he started that way, and he kept developing and kept sticking to what he was best at.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, because, like, it's not like I wouldn't say I like Battle Pope, but I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
And, like, what they were trying to do.
It's more fun on a reread. I don't know what that says about me.
But... Yeah, honestly, it is it's like as its own thing. Like, it's not something I would, like, I don't know, even have on my shelf and, like, be like, hey, you gotta check this out, you know? But it's like one of those funny things. It's like, oh, you like Invincible? You like Walking Dead? Bro, check out this crazy thing that the dude. And I feel like get like I appreciate it more knowing that he grew out of this, you know, and that this was this, like, it works better in context than it does, I think, by itself. Yeah. And I think
that's the fact that he feels the same way.
Exactly. And that's where we're going now with it too, because I want to look at his career post Battle Pope and how we talked about his, like, business sense, his, like, independent spirit, his, like, inspiration from Image guys and stuff like that. And this is something he's carried through his career and kept pretty true to, like, throughout. So Battle Pope, 2000 to 2002, I think. Like, they get through 15 issues, I think, over 2 years, 1 or 2 years, right? Meanwhile, Kirkman establishes connections with some of his heroes. So Kirkman's told this story a million times. There's plenty of interviews out there. I'll try to give, like, the Cliff Notes version of it. But Battle Pope was his way to break in. The only way he knew how, doing it himself. But he didn't just stop. Through subterfuge and, like, a white lie, he convinces... yeah, just the sheer audacity. Like, he convinces Eric Larson to let him drive him to the airport after a con, right? I guess the story is Kirkman had driven from Kentucky to, I think, Chicago or Baltimore.
It's not close.
Like that.
Also not close.
And I think he was, like, sleeping in the car or something. And he met Eric Larson at the con, and he was talking about Battle Pope, you know, and, like, he got to talking, and, like, he, like, tracked him down at the end of the con, and, like, Eric Larson was like, oh, I gotta go to the airport. And Kirkman was like, oh, I'll drive you. But he had no idea where the airport was. Like, he literally just drove into town the night before, which, if it wasn't Kirkman, psycho. Like, that's some scary shit. That's some scary ass shit. But they get to talking, like, start to build, like, a relationship. He's like, oh, like, Kirkman's just a dude, like, he's grinding it. Like, I feel like, I don't know Eric Larson's side, but I could see him being a guy at that level and being like, man, I remember being there, you know?
Yeah.
So
he just really doesn't come across as a creep too. Like, he's just very, very sincere. You only get to see him on this other side of it, you know, but it doesn't seem like how much, like, cringe did he have in him? Or maybe he just talked about big tits the whole time. If he was still his young 20s, who knows?
It's also like that. It's that whole thing too. Is like, you want to help people who are already helping themselves, and I'm sure, like, seeing Kirkman as a guy who's grinding it out, like, establish his own, like, company to publish his stuff independently, and, like, knows and is a fan of Savage Dragon, and you're just like, man, this guy, like, he gets it, you know? So throughout, like, the early 2000s, this, like, the first, like, few years, Kirkman's like, consistently pitching to Image. He's using his experience lettering to really get in as, like, a letterer. I've heard him in interviews, like, recommend it to anybody if they're not an artist or something like that, or just anything, a way to really break into the industry. And he built relationships with everybody at the company. At one point, it's a joke that he was the 5th partner before he eventually did become partner. because he would always be on the phone with the secretary, and she would always refer to him as like the fifth partner. And he's even able to break into Marvel. He does Sleepwalker in 2004. Later does Marvel Zombies, which is a breakout hint. Does a Jubilee miniseries.
It's
and all the
crazy.
while, right, he's doing stuff like Cape, Super Patriot, Tech Jacket, which all exist in the Invincible universe, which he's able to finally get going on.
I don't know much about Marvel Zombies, but isn't it more complicated than you think at first? Did he come up with like the lore for that, or was that already established?
So this plays into the like comic book industry and how it would like the work for hire stuff works, right? So he's doing all this indie stuff. He had started doing Invincible and The Walking Dead at Image already, and he was doing little mini stuff for Marvel, and Marvel sees that he's doing zombie stuff, right? And during this time we're in the Ultimate Universe, right? This is the Ultimate era, and I think it's Mark Miller. There's an issue of the Ultimates where they see another universe that's all zombies, right? So Marvel's like, oh hey, like a lot of people thought that was cool, let's do a mini series. And I don't know if Kirkman had pitched it because he had read that or what, but he was already doing zombie stuff, and he's like the zombie guy at that point. He's like doing The Walking Dead, and so he does the main Marvel Zombies miniseries. And kind of going back to The Walking Dead and Invincible, while he's at Image, like he's learning all of this stuff from the OGs, right? Like Eric Larson, Eric Stevenson, fucking Todd McFarlane, all of these guys. Like one of the big stories he tells is, I think is it Mark Silvestri or Jim Valentino, I think, tells him to bring his twist from it was supposed to happen at issue 25 of Invincible, bring it up. Yeah. And then I guess also too, he had originally pitched The Walking Dead as having like an alien. He had lied and said there's like an alien element to it. And then when the first issue came out, they were like, yo, what, like, I didn't see any of that alien stuff. Like, when's the twist gonna come? And he's just like, bro, like, that was a lie so that you guys would
Another
white
lie.
Another little white lie. And originally, The Walking Dead was gonna be a Night of the Living Dead comic because it was in the public domain at that point. So he's like learning and like slowly morphing into like the comic book creator we know nowadays. And during this, he's got his indie stuff going on, and he's doing stuff at Marvel. And as like a young creator who's also, he's got these voices in his head, right? He's got the fucking indie dudes on one shoulder, Marvel on the other kind of thing. Like he's starting to build a little bit of a career. And I think one of the big watershed moments for him that he references a lot, although he did keep doing work for them, I think he was under an exclusive contract at Marvel from 2004 to 2006, right? But like Invincible, The Walking Dead, they kind of like that was before he signed this exclusive contract, so he was still able to do those. Sleepwalker, he's brought on to do a Sleepwalker miniseries, and the book gets canceled after one issue. Damn. And he's like, well, what about this other work that I did for the next like few issues that is supposed to come out? And it's like, well, you're not getting paid for that one because we're not going to make it. And you also can't do anything else until we give you another job or pick up one of your pitches here. So like he starts to really get kind of upset with the industry and the way things work. And it's funny too because like, bro, like this is so early on in his career, but I think if he hadn't been so inspired by these Image guys, you know what I mean? Like he wouldn't even be in this headspace.
You don't know what's possible kind of thing.
Exactly. And like you already see the other side.
He was waiting to get ripped off by Marvel. Please.
Exactly. He was just like, come on, fucking do it. I swear to fucking God, what's he do? I'm gonna blow all of your shit up. And so 2008, Obama is elected president of the United States.
I forgot
and
about
that. It's in that same spirit. 2008, Kirkman becomes partner at Image Comics, the only partner after the original squad, which is like unheard of, right? Like there's some shakeups, right? Well, Liefeld left in the late 90s at some point. We'll say Portacio left. Mark Silvestri had like gone off to do Top Cow, his own thing, and they wanted some new blood. And Kirkman was that fucking fanboy, that one and it was starting to get a career going, and he had Invincible was starting to take off. The Walking Dead was starting to take off. I would assume that at this point, 2008, he was already in talks for the TV show, right? For Walking Dead, because Walking Dead comes out
didn't come out much
2010.
later.
2010. So he must have been, right?
Yeah.
And he becomes the fifth partner at Image, and he makes the announcement at San Diego Comic-Con, I believe. And afterwards, he goes back to his hotel room, puts up a green screen, and makes the most Riddler-ass video I have ever seen. It is so weird because it's literally just him, like, super close. And I keep saying that he has a big head because he always talks about it. Like, he always makes a joke of him.
He said it first, so it's okay.
Yeah, so, but like, he does have a giant head, and it's just him in front of a green screen, Echo in this like Motel 6 fucking hotel room, and he puts out this call to action for creators to leave Marvel and DC and do more creator-owned work. One of the things he says is that the big two should not be the be-all, end-all of a creator's career. And I'm going to read you some of the quotes, and tell me what you think of it.
I'll give them a petty score between 1 and 5.
One of the first things he says, and he admits that this is a marketing ploy as much as it is as a true statement, but he says,
"Sneaky bitch.
I did it to save the comic book industry," in reference to leaving Marvel.
That is gonna be a 4. That's gonna be a 4. That's pretty edging on 5 there.
He also says no one watches a movie and only aspires to do Pulp Fiction 2.
That one kind of is like a 2 because that's just kind of an odd thing to say.
Well, this is in reference to the idea that like a lot of creators come in and then it's like, well, okay, I'm gonna write on Spider-Man issue 700 to 725. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's the height of my career, right? He also says
just a weird poll.
Sometimes you get to the top, sometimes you get to the middle, sometimes you languish at the bottom in terms of careers at the big two.
Damn. That's a 3.
Which is like, because I mean, like, you think about it, and you're on contract, right, at this company, and really, dude, like, he talks about it, he clarifies a lot later on, but the overhead and operational costs of a huge company like Marvel, the amount of money that the creators actually see from the sales, even though they're selling so much, is comparable to selling a creator-owned work that's like doing a quarter of the sales, because you see so much more of that money versus Marvel takes everything and then just pays you out a little bit, right?
Languishing.
And in reference to other big creators at the big two that are able to make careers, he says when you're doing these like recurring contracts and like trying to negotiate for better pay, you eventually you're gonna bid yourself out of existence. And that, you know, the idea that now Marvel's spending all their money on like 5 or 6 big guys and everybody else is still just like trying to make a buck, like trying to make a living. You know what I mean? And he also says the more people that do creator-owned work, the easier it will be for people to do creator-owned work.
Sure, I guess.
My favorite quote, the fanboy becomes the fan man, becomes the old man, becomes the dead man. And I hope they, like, when he dies, they put that on his grave. That's, like, I want that
he
fucking
died
tattoo
a dead man.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty good.
And then I got one more for you. It's time for the lies to finally end. False promises of renewal, change We'll give him a real change now. What do you think of that? That is the Riddler on an iPhone from the Batman 2022. That's actually a quote from the Riddler in the Batman. I just wanted to throw that in there because I think
the fact that I could believe it says a lot to the tone. Yeah, very much the same.
But his main argument, right? Like, especially at this time, is that more people should be using their time at Marvel and DC to build a following to be able to do their own creator-owned work, instead of the other way around, like doing their battle popes to break into Marvel and like staying there, you know, and like taking their talents to something that's more personal and to something that they can have more ownership of. Yeah. Because like we were talking about before, you don't get any of the royalty. You get very little depending on like your contract, unless you're one of the big guys. Anything from when they make Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or when they make the 12th Captain America movie, or when they make the 5th reboot of Superman. You know, these guys aren't seeing much. Like the dudes that are writing a lot of these big stories. And with something like doing creator-owned work, you retain so much of those rights. Like, you can go off and sell it to whatever. Like, you look at Mark Millar, and he's selling basically everything he's ever done to Netflix and making an anime based off his work, and like doing all of these like really random deals. And I think a lot of what he has said has rung true, especially with his career, with things like The Walking Dead, Invincible. Even like I think in 2010 or 11 he had licensed Invincible to MTV to make a cartoon that kind of like didn't really go anywhere, and now he's with Amazon, and like Invincible is fucking huge. Like, it can't be overstated.
The world where he didn't have rights to that stuff is like a much shittier world for him.
Exactly. Like, he wouldn't be where he is today. And what a lot
he also probably wouldn't be in the fucking showrooms that he like forced himself into. Like,
now he's co-show running so much of this stuff and having a real hand in the ways that his characters are able to be adapted and like given to a new generation. Because really, like, so many kids like nowadays, like I remember like when the Invincible first came out, like teenagers being, I've never seen like kids that excited about like a comic book thing since.
It's always somebody's first. Yeah.
And I think a lot of what he said too was focused on like Marvel and DC catering more to general audiences and kids, and letting creator-owned work be more for grown-up comic fans, which is like, I don't know, I kind of get where he's going with that.
I don't know why. That seemed like an odd thing to add in there.
But I think for him, there was so much of the business mind of being like, hey, focus on this, pull your line back, and let these guys have the freedom to go off and do their own thing, instead of having 15 X-Men titles and locking people into a exclusive contract where they can't go off and do their own stuff, right? Yeah. And then people like Bendis, there's like infamous, they do a little panel, they're homies, but Bendis disagreed with a lot of what he was saying, right? And especially on the point that like Kirkman is successful, and it's easy to say that when you're successful, but if you're a creator-owned guy, you know what I mean? It is really important to be part of the system, at least for a little bit, you know, so that you can build a following. But in general, I do agree with Kirkman's overall idea that, you know, I think because like some of the best stuff really nowadays is the creator-owned stuff. Like, really, the stuff that really makes me excited about comics and the future of comics are things from Image and Fantagraphics and Oni Press and like creator-owned imprints and stuff like that. The Vertigo-esque things that people are doing that really make me excited. And so we see this like independent spirit throughout his career, right? Walking Dead takes off, Invincible takes off, Outcast gets a Cinemax series. In 2010, Kirkman starts Skybound and Skybound Entertainment, his own imprint, and this is where we also get stuff like Ultra Mega, and
Hell
where
yeah.
he first revisits the Invincible universe in Battle Beast, right? He later on he establishes Skybound Entertainment, where he's like they're making an Invincible fighting game. He wrote the treatment and produced Renfield, that
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Dracula movie, right? And as the COO, Chief Operating Officer at Image, like he was there during an era like COVID happened. They narrowly skirted the Diamond collapse when the distributor went bankrupt. They had moved to Lunar as a distribution network in 2023, and
sort of fucked him up.
he sees so much growth, right? And all within this, in this success, there are some drawbacks and stuff, right? In 2012, he's sued by his childhood best friend Tony Moore for credit and shares of The Walking Dead. And I'm not gonna get too much into the lawsuits, so I'm sure like you guys could check them out. But
choose a side, have a take, and call out your opponents. That's why we're here.
There's two. First one, Moore, The Walking Dead, and then Bill Crabtree, the colorist on Invincible, in 2024.
Not the Crabster.
Also, they both settled out of court. But I mean, for me, jury's still out on whether Kirkman's lies are restrained to his storytelling and his pitches, or if he really did just live long enough to become the villain. Both lawsuits claim that Kirkman misrepresented the terms during their initial negotiations, but from where I'm sitting, it honestly just seems like Kirkman just paid more attention, and he's always been more business savvy, and he made sure that like he was taken care of. At least I don't think there was anything malicious, and he just had like a better lawyer, because all of these guys had representation from the get, and it's part of this thing. And I think Kirkman was just had a little bit more foresight. And so like I don't know where you stand on this. I know I didn't get into the details much, but like from what it sounds like to you, what do you think?
I'm just going off vibes on this one. I don't know enough about it. I read a little bit, but it's just two Kentucky brothers, torn asunder.
And also Moore dropped out after like 6 or so issues because he couldn't keep up. So it's like it's tough because like I want them to be buddies again. Like, it's one of those things where it's like that's
growing up with
so
a motherfucker.
Sad. So sad to see that.
I think we got very lucky that Kirkman does not come across and does not seem to be a piece of shit. So if he's secretly got a bit of a piece of shit in him, it's not a pass, but at that point he's just a normal human being, He's worked up a lot of goodwill, It's also a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's the thing too. It's like it's a lot of money, and that's the thing. They settled, so like I'm sure they got theirs.
What?
You know what I mean?
They didn't pay him. Yeah. They didn't pay him for sure.
Exactly. They got theirs.
All right. Here's my final take on that. Robert, don't do it again. Okay.
One time, two times, third time.
I'm cutting him off. Yep. He's been warned.
Yeah. And like nowadays, it seems like he has a really good relationship with his like his other collaborators, right? He did Firepower with Chris Samnee. He did Outcast with Asaceda. He's doing Skinbreaker with David Finch.
I'm excited for Spring Breaker.
That I'm like super stoked for.
I thought it was called Spring Breakers at first, like the fucking James Franco movie. I was like,
Vanessa Hudgens just Selena Gomez. And he's still working with Otley all the time, and he still has a great relationship with like Corey Walker, another guy who started Invincible with him, and they were roommates, like trying to make it in the biz together at one point, and they still seem to have a great relationship going on now. And so his love for comics and the industry is super apparent in the way he's running things, and he seems like he wants people to be excited about comics. And one thing he mentioned recently in an interview is like he refers to it as dumb fun shit, right? And speaking to the growth of like the independent comic industry now, when Kirkman became a partner at Image in 2008, there were around like 5 or 6 titles that were coming out consistently monthly, right? 2 of them were Invincible and The Walking Dead. Now there's almost 80 titles releasing every month with multiple imprints, with like Skybound.
That's just a Image?
Yes, just through Image. There's almost 80 every single month, right? With you get Skybound stuff, Ghost Machine stuff, right? The Hyde Street things that they're all doing.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of really
I think
good
Kirkman shit. Kirkman really does love like what he refers to as the dumb fun shit, is drawing from his experience working at a comic book store, knowing what people are excited about. Stuff like launches, dropping things like Solid Blood, like just some random like bit that him and his buddy are doing these blind bags. I think Battle Beast had like 40 fucking covers that they were releasing as blind bags, and you see it too with the relaunch of Batman. They're doing like 60 different covers of Batman, and just to get people in the stores, in the brick and mortar stores, buying comics. And like on a personal level, it's like great to see, because I love, like, I don't remember a time in my life when I would go to my local comic book store and it wasn't just me and like 1 or 2 other people, until I like went to college in a bigger city and like saw like that there were actually people that were in comic book stores and stuff like that. And it's he's really recapturing, I think, you know, like for a lot of people, like what they loved about comics and like trying to get people excited about it. He's got the Energon universe coming out, with Transformers, Void Rivals, the G.I. Joe stuff. He's picking up Transformers after Daniel Warren Johnson's 24 issue run. He's gonna be the one. Yeah, he's writing it at issue 25. Cool.
Shit.
Talked about Skinbreaker, Battle Beast, just so much stuff. And
also, Transformers is already very much like Kirkman vibes. Like it's just like fucking Bumblebee, and like that really hurt me when you said that, Optimus. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Daniel Warren Johnson is a guy. I think I want to shout for our recommendations later. I do want to shout out a lot of like the people, creators he's put on, and people that like really like embody that spirit of the indie comic stuff. And Daniel Warren Johnson is one of them. Like he's a guy that uses the like high concept weird stuff to tell really personal, grounded stories about people. Like We Do a Powerbomb is probably one of my favorite comics of the last few years. His work on Extremity, which was also a Skybound thing.
Closing thoughts, and then just pick up where you're leaving off, and we'll do the
yeah. Go ahead.
Closing thoughts for me. While we were watching interviews and just like kind of looking at his body of work, it made me think about Ted McKeever, because he was someone that we covered recently. He's a renegade post-punk writer, probably what he would call himself. Has completely disappeared as of like 2015. He wrote Plastic Forks, pretty good episode. You could check it out. I think everyone's audio worked in that one, so that'll be a rare success. This man was an incredibly misanthropic, petty guy towards publishers, fellow creators. Even his own artistic impulses did not come out unscathed. Like, shit talking everybody, dude. Which is a vibe, but same as what you're talking about with Alan Moore. Like, if there was more people, not everyone will be able to do it business-wise. But if there was more people who, maybe it is just luck, but who are able to find success and just remain kind of chill about things, for their own sakes, I guess. All these people make great comics, so I'll be happy to read anything, but I guess I'm not even giving advice. I'm just saying Ted kept coming into my head because Kirkman was just having none of that. Got super great output, and it's as as we continue to do this, I will be interested if this is like a type that we come across. Obviously, on the business end and the cultural influence, he's one of a kind. But yeah, just completely taking it down to a personal note, I would just say, yeah, wow, crazy. Must be something in the water.
Yeah,
nice
I feel
guy.
Like Kirkman's also like the kind of guy that you like. I don't know. For me, like I kind of hate just because I envy him so much.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
He's one of those guys where it's like, God fucking damn it. You know what I mean? It's like, what excuse do I have now? You know, like what excuse does anybody have now for like? And for me, like Kirkman is to comics, like in my understanding, like in my generation of like understanding like arts and industries and entertainment and stuff. Kirkman is to comics what Tarantino was to movies, like a fanboy who forged a path for independence in a fantastically fickle business. While your mileage may vary about the quality of his work in general, I like it personally. A lot of his stuff really hits for me. He's as much defined by like his artistic voice as his like business success and his vision for the industry. Like when you make it to a level as high as he has, like being divisive or having polarizing opinions is hard to avoid, but it's hard to deny that Kirkman has kept that like independent spirit and like love of the craft alive. Like he's still doing it for the love of the game, right? And in a way that like uplifts and respects the industry and the medium and the people that do it. Because for him, it seems like comics were everything to him when he had nothing. And now, as a man who has everything, there's still just like a precious refuge in like the chaos of like success that he has now. The way that he talks about comics is the thing that he does to come home after the craziness of like running these big companies and like doing video games and show running and things like that. Comics are the thing that he can come home to and feel like himself. And like for me, I can only speak for myself, but like as comic fans, I feel like the consistency of grabbing those 20-22 pages a month and like seeing what Spider-Man's up to, or like seeing where the storylines that like you've come to like love it can't be overstated, like the power of that thing that's very specific to comics as an art form, for sure. So for like our recommendations,
get back into it.
For our recommendations, I do kind of want to just obviously I'm a big Kirkman fan. Love Invincible, The Walking Dead. I don't have to plug those. And his other stuff I really enjoy. I mentioned Firepower. Oblivion song is really cool. But I do want to shout out a lot of other creatives in the business now, modern guys that I feel like are doing similar things to Kirkman in terms of them kind of carving out a space for themselves and other creators like them, because I think that's what Kirkman really has done and tried to do, is give people a place to build for themselves. And one of those people I already mentioned before, Daniel Warren Johnson. Do a power bomb, dope. Fucking Extremity, dope. Murder Falcon, dope. Everything he's ever touched, I love. Recently, The Moon is Following Us, very cool. Somebody else, James Tynion IV. If you're into horror, anything like that, World Tree is super cool. Nice House on the Lake and Nice House by the Sea, which is ongoing now. Recently, The Deviant was really cool. I'm also really loving Exquisite Corpse. I'm really liking, it's only a couple issues in, but Ludo Lullabies. Ghost Pepper, it's really cool, fun. Denise Camp, Assorted Crisis Events. All these dudes doing really cool, fun work in Image right now. And I think it wouldn't really be possible without like Kirkman doing what he's done and doing what he did. Is there anything for you want to shout out?
Oh yeah, I mean, as per tradition, I'll give a recommendation from something else that the writer we've talked about has done. And I'm going to have to recommend Capes just based on Ethan's recommendation. He said it's really good. He said you'll get a lot from it. He said he agrees with everything in there. So give that one a quick read.
Oh, also small tie-in. Kirkman also did a untitled one-page story with Tony Moore in the 9/11 anthology.
Aww.
In 2002, bringing it full circle back to our boy Greg Like and civilian justice. But yeah, do you have a closing stay Kentuckians?
Yo, that's what I was thinking, man. Fuck. All right. This has been another episode of Tales from the Gutters. Until next week, everybody, stay barefoot, y'all.